Well, the NFL draft is over and it's time to give these classes some grades. So what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. I'm going to be separating this into an AFC video and an NFC video. And you're going to be getting the AFC one first because I'm going to show you how unbiased I am by grading my own team. And self-admittedly, I wasn't a fan of their draft class for the most part. And I mean, a lot of that stems from they only had 4 picks. The poor Dolphins, only 4 picks. But it is what it is. What did they do with those picks? I was like, man, it's a tough class to address offensive line at pick 51. What are they going to be able to make work? And honestly, their first pick was their best pick. I'm very happy that they just went ahead and was like, you know, we're not going to reach for necessarily maybe an offensive lineman or maybe some other need, but let's just go ahead with talent. Who's the top guy on our board at the time? Cam Smith was one of the, I think he was a top 5 best available prospect for me. And he's a guy that can play inside. He can play outside. I like him in his zone defense, so he kind of matches Fangio in that regard. And, yeah, I mean, depending on what happens with X, man, this might be a good thing. So I was like, you know what? I like the Cam Smith pick, so good on that. And I lost my mind on the Devon A-Chain. Listen, I love A-Chain. Like that LSU game, oh, it'll live in the back of my mind for as long as I live. I get a smaller back, lots of speed. Mike McDaniel, ooh, speed, but this is a guy that has made a living in San Fran under Kyle Shanahan by having a productive run game with day 3 and journeyman. I get it's sexy. He's gonna produce well, but I really wish we went elsewhere, especially given the track record of guys like Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, like Mike McDaniel. He's succeeded with guys like that throughout his whole freaking career. So it did make me sad, and it kind of is what it is. The day 3 picks, I'm not going to be too harsh about. Well, that's not true. Ryan Haynes, I don't love the Ryan Haynes pick. Some people liked Ryan Haynes. I didn't. He saw him in the Senior Bowl, and anyone that hit him with a power move ate his lunch. Isaiah Foskey, ate his lunch. Stinking go to the Iowa game. Lucas Van Ness, ate his lunch. Not wild about it. Elijah Higgins, I kind of get it's a nice blend of size and speed, and I guess they refer to him as a tight end, so they might be moving him to tight end, but someone who, for the large part, very not like hugely productive at Stanford. Senior Bowl wasn't a great week. There was a lot of effort, or lack thereof, effort plays that I didn't love, but I get why Mike McDaniel went with him, as he had 17 forced missed tackles in 2022. So he's a cat that can create after the catch and has great size. Ultimately, I went ahead and gave my Dolphins a below average grade. I was like, you know what? They only had 4 picks. They went in. They did what they could. But still, like, is it an average class? No, because like really the only 2 guys that are going to be coming out of this, A-Chain, a guy that's going to be splitting carries in the backfield with Wilson and Montgomery, or Mostert, excuse me, and then Cam Smith, who actually might be someone very valuable down the line. So ultimately, I wasn't in love with the class. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens, who selected Zay Flowers with the first pick. I thought that's the right call. Listen, you just signed stinking Lamar Jackson to a mega contract, and now you got his Flowers. You got him some receiving help. I thought that was a good play. Didn't have another pick until pick 86, and they just kind of let value hit him in the face. Like Trent Simpson being there was really good value, and this kind of allows you to move on from Patrick Queen, who's kind of been up and down with the Ravens. So Queen probably not going to get extended. So I like that pick. Travius Robinson, not in love with it. Like, I get it. He's lanky. He's got a little burst to him, but largely a project. But really, it's like the first 4 rounds, you want to try to find quality players. And I was like, there were probably other guys they could have went with around there. Kyle Luke Kelly, though, I thought was a good pickup. I think he could also honestly immediately come in there and contend for cornerback too, and if anything, be really good depth for him. I'm not going to butcher the Oregon offensive lineman. I think he probably ends up being a guard in the NFL, but kind of irrelevant because they moved up for freaking Andrew Voorhees, and I love that move. This guy's going to have to redshirt his rookie season, but he could legitimately contend for a starting spot when he returns in 2024. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Ravens an above average grade. Basically, solid class, good job. I thought they did well. They went in and they got some good players, mainly like Flowers and Simpson. Not having that second round pick kind of sucks, but it's like, no, they did damage, man. They did a good job. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills, and let me talk about the Dalton Kincaid pick, because I was a little harsh on it. If you saw my day 1 grades, day 2, I kind of like reeled back after, because it was real funny, right? And during my day, my initial grade of this, I was like, what are they going to be doing? Running more 12 personnel, using them as a big slot. And as I'm saying that in their presser, they actually say this is exactly what we plan to do. And I was like, oh, well, this makes a lot more sense. It really does. So I've come around to that pick since I even tweeted out like, yeah, sit it on it. I feel better about this pick. They were able to grab Osiris Torrance, who just fell to pick, what, 59? Ludicrous value, a team that desperately needed offensive line help, and he is exactly what they need. And then they grabbed one of my favorite players in this class, Dorian Williams, someone not really talked about enough, who was my linebacker 5 in this class. He's got great length. He's a really good athlete. He's also a dog in the run game. Sometimes he seems a bit overmatched, but like this guy's giving you hyper effort. And even better, dude's a good coverage corner. So I think he immediately comes in, and you're looking for that super athletic linebacker to come in and replace Tremaine Edmonds. I think you could have picked a better one. Williams is your guy for that. They didn't have another pick till the 5th round, pick 150. Grab Justin Shorter. I thought that was fine. That was a little higher for me, a guy that's kind of had injury woes, but he's a big possession guy. I think that's fine. Nick Broecker. They like athletes along the offensive line, and he is kind of that. He's got tackle guard flexibility. Probably a guard in the NFL. Moved to guard this past season for Ole Miss. But Alex Austin is really good value at 252. Fits their scheme, and I think he's gonna stick on the roster, maybe like corner 4, corner 5. So I walked away from the Bills draft class saying it's a banger. It's a banger, which is my highest grade. I'm gonna give you all a little. We got banger, we got above average, we got average, we got below average, and then we got basically flop, meaning your class really sucked. So that's kind of how the grades work. I think it's a little better than just giving out actual like grades. Because like I was just looking at Mel Kiper's, and like every team had a B- or higher, and I was like, that's super lame, dude. Put your flag in on a hot take, Mel. Come on. But yeah, no, I really liked their class, and I'm a Dolphins fan in saying this, so crap. All right, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They took Miles Murphy, who I was a huge fan of. He was my edge 3. And I get it, his 2022 was a down year, and I kind of assumed he would fall, and he did. He ends up going at pick 28, 29, and it's really good value. It really, really is. And then they move to get, well, they don't move, but they get DJ Turner in round 2. Which I kind of like, because he mainly played like press man, at Michigan, and at his size, he ain't going to be able to play press in the NFL, but he's very good at mirroring receivers, so they added that. I mean, what they pulled Daxton Hill last year, and now they get DJ Turner. I thought that was pretty darn solid. And then the Jordan Battle pick is a little head-scratching to me. I guess it really depends on how they utilize Daxton Hill. They brought in Nick Scott on a 3-year, $12 million deal, and Battle's basically gonna, that's kind of the role I see him in, is what you just signed a 3-year deal for. And like, Battle's a high floor player. I think he's gonna be a solid NFL player. So like, I was just a little confused about it. So I didn't exactly love it, but I didn't hate it because I really liked the player. Charlie Jones, that was a little high for me, but I get it. Essentially, Charlie Jones is, let's see if we can upgrade from Trent Taylor. That's basically what it is. A guy that can operate as a 4th wide receiver and also in the slot to a degree. Or I say in the slot, as a return man. There we go. Chase Brown was a really good pickup. Like, ooh. Get Joe Mixon out. You don't need to be paying him too much money. You got Chase Brown. I really liked Andre Yoshivas in the 6th round. He is someone you can build up, man. He's a track star. Does like a not triathlon, but it's like a hexathlon or heplathlon or whatever they call it. But he's just a gifted athlete in general. And went to the Senior Bowl, looked pretty good. He is someone that's going to have to kind of like develop as a better route runner, but he was good after the catch for Princeton. Went to the Senior Bowl, didn't look out of place. I like him at the catch point. He's got a little size on him, and the best part is he won't even have to change helmets. He'll bring his Princeton helmet. There we go. And he'll fit right in. So good on that. Then they drafted a punter. I don't really care. And then they got DJ Ivy added to you. He's got a little size to him. That pick was fine. Overall, I kind of settled on this was an above average class. They did good. It was solid. It was good. I don't think it was a banger, but I think they had 2 really good picks to open the first 2 rounds. And then after that, I really liked the Brown and the Yoshivas pick. So yeah, good on the Bengals. Let's move on to the Cleveland Brownies, which didn't have much. They had 2 third-round picks, and then I thought they did well. They got a very good possession receiver who has vertical ability. He's willing to go up and get the catch, like a prototypical X size. I thought that was good value. Siaki Ika was kind of a no-brainer for this squad. He really was kind of a no-brainer for the squad. A team that struggled to stop the run. Let's get a big, meaty boy in the middle. I think I have mocked Siaki Ika a lot to the Browns. But it's what they really did in day 2. I believe they moved up to get DeJuan Jones, where it's like, okay, well, what is he going to do? We have Willis and Conklin. There we go. And it's like, you know what? Still, it's fine depth, man. A good player has fallen. A guy that I had inside my top 50, snag him. Especially like he fits your scheme. Isaiah McGuire, I had a top 100 grade on, so he was good value at 126. So I thought they made the most of their first 4 picks. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I'm gonna say that, like, I honestly think he probably takes the Greg Ward route and ends up being a slot. But hey, I think this dude could duke it out behind with Josh Dobbs. Yeah, Dobbs. No, Dobbs. There we go. To be the backup quarterback for Watson. So watch out. He's also playing with his former teammates there, Demetric Felton. And then Cameron Mitchell was really good value in the 5th round. Fits a scheme there for a team that already has quarterback depth for days. And Luke Whippler, someone who I had a top 75 grade on, making it there at 6. If you remember, Ethan Posick got a little banged up. I know you extended him, but now you have a very nice depth piece there. I thought for where they were picking, their first pick isn't until 74. They ended up having a banger of a draft. Good on y'all, Cleveland Browns. I thought it was a good draft. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos, who their first pick was Marvin Mims, which they actually moved up for with the Lions. And basically they swapped pick 68 with pick 63. And then they gave their fifth round, early fifth, ended up getting I believe it was a later fifth. So not too bad to move up and get a receiver you like. I'm curious if any of their receivers will be on the trade block. Feels like all of them were at some point during the offseason or even during the season. But let's look at the remainder of their class. I'm, again, big fan of Marvin Mims. Drew Sanders fallen. Fabulous. You get wonderful value at 67. Someone who I thought could have gone earlier. And this is the second linebacker off the board. And I'm going to preface that in my NFC video when I talk about the Jack Campbell pick, that they took their linebacker 1, and then the next linebacker didn't come off the board until 67. Just saying. But that was a wonderful pick. So I was like, okay, those are two solid picks. Riley Moss, I felt like was a little bit of a reach in the third round. It sounds like he's going to be moving to safety. So I was like, okay, that's fine enough. But then they double up on safety in the 6th, which I get it's a 6. But JL Skinner was a fallen prospect who's coming off the torn pectoral, who honestly probably should make the move to linebacker. Is what it is. Alex Forsyth, he's an undersized center I'm not a fan of. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, I think it was a solid enough draft. I don't think it was like nothing was really a home run. Maybe Drew Sanders ends up being a home run pick, but like, they made a couple of solid picks and then they just grabbed some guys, and that's about it. Really, receiver being the only position of value, like in terms of positional value, because if we're gonna consider Moss a safety, then it is a lesser positional value than it would be for a corner. I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, this is an average draft. They didn't have a lot of picks to work with, but they came out and you're like, you know what? We're still going to go out and get good players. So good on the Broncos. I thought that they had a reasonably all right draft. Let's go ahead and move to the Houston Texans, because this might end up being my hottest take. Because I love their first round, aside from the trade. So the Texans, they take CJ Stroud at 2. That was forever going to be the right move. Take a quarterback at 2. Bam. But then they move up to 3, and I was like, oh my gosh, D'Amico Ryans, he's going to put his fingerprint on this defensive line with Will Anderson. Phenomenal. And then looking at the trade that they move up to 3, they gave up, or they ended up also getting a early 4th as well. And they gave up their early 2nd. They gave up pick 12, obviously. Pick 12, pick 3 swap. They gave up an early 2nd. But then they give it up a first next year kind of sucks, but I get it. That's what you're making the move for. And I was trying to, and they also give up a 3rd next year. And I was trying to think in my head, I was like, you know what? I'd probably feel better about the move, like the trade, if it was kind of flip-flopped and it was like CJ Stroud. They're going out and getting their franchise quarterback. So yeah, you kind of give that draft kind of. So I was like, you know what? Okay, benefit of the doubt. Those are 2 bigger picks. That is an A first round for the Texans. So I got past that. I was like, you know what? Trade's not that bad if you kind of flip. So it's irrelevant. And then we get to day 2. And they draft players I like, but at least one is exceptionally early. So I got problems with the Juice Scruggs pick. I just do. They were sitting there. They actually, I believe, moved up. Yes, they moved up to 62, gave up 65. They gave up 188, which I believe is a 5th, and then 230, which is a 7th. So it's like, it's fine. That's not terrible to move up. But you're staring, they go center, but you go with another Big Ten center. You're staring down Luke Whippler, who is CJ Stroud center, and who I had much higher on my board than Juice Scruggs, because I like Scruggs. Don't get me wrong, but I had him as an early day 3 guy. So it didn't feel great. It didn't feel ideal. And then they move up once again to get Tank Dell. They move up from 73 and give up 161 to go to 69. Nice. To get Tank Dell, and I was like, I love Dell, man, but like, I don't know. Maybe John Mechie is an outside receiver. I kind of thought Mechie was. I mean, Tank Dell could play on the outside too. Like, don't get me wrong. I ended up like for that specific pick, I was like, all right, I'll give it a B. That's fine. So like, I'm just kind of like, they made a couple of moves up. I don't think they had to get aggressive. You're a team that's rebuilding. You're probably a year or two away. So like maybe just sit on your picks and just pick up value. But they did. Then they go Dylan Horton at 109, which was a little early, but I like Horton enough where I'm like, okay, it is what it is. And outside of Xavier Hutchinson, I really didn't like the remainder of their draft. I really didn't. They double up at center with Jared Patterson, who is a below average center in terms of power and in terms of movement skills. Didn't love that. Henry To'oTo'o, that was decent value. That's about where I had him, so I'm not gonna really harp on that one. He comes from D'Amico's alma mater, so that's fine. Xavier Hutchinson's a good pick. They get size at receiver. And Brandon Hill's fine at that point, but I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think they walk away from this draft with all these picks with really only 2 good ones. Like, and I love Tank Dell. Like maybe 2.5 because getting Tank Dell's short. I'm going to give it a below average grade. That might be my hot take. I thought the Texans probably walked away from this draft really just maybe with really 2 franchise players. And I got questions about why they pass on Luke Whippler. A lot of teams ended up doing it. So maybe there's something I don't know there, but I thought there was better centers on the board there. Like even Oluwada Timmy actually fell too. So, but I mean, you moved up for a center in honestly an offensive line class that was a bit lackluster. I don't even think they needed to make the move up. So you just kind of gave away 2 picks for free, in my opinion. So yeah, let me know, Texan fans, because you know what, like even if it's not below average, it's just average. It's outside of day one, I'm not really like clicking my heels, you know. So let's go ahead. Let's move to the Indianapolis Colts because I really actually liked their draft. I thought the right call was Anthony Richardson. You're sitting there for just swing on the uber potential. Because you know what? Even if you still miss to some regard, like a quarterback with his immense athletic ability is going to be super tough to game plan for. On top of that, like the remainder, like Julius Brents, with this Brents pick, they actually traded down twice, just picking up more draft capital. And they were able to get their guys, so I liked that. The Josh Downs pick was great. He's really good value there at, what, 79? Blake Freeland was kind of whatever. That's about where I had him. Colts, they love their swing tackles, so I had to go get a swing tackle. But y'all already know. Adetomiwa Adebari was my dude in this class, and it hurt my heart that he was falling. I thought he was going on day 2 somewhere. He did not. The Colts, they go ahead. They snatch him up. It's a great pick. And you know what? The Colts came out of this class with a real, like, this is what the Texans draft straight up should have looked like. I'm going to say it. This is what the Texans draft should have looked like. They come out with a lot of competition at quarter, pulling Darius Rush. Good athlete, great length. They get Jalen Jones later on, who I had as a 4th round grade, ends up going here in the 7th. Like, you have competition at corner now. Jake Witt, that is a great guy you could throw on the practice squad and develop. He's only been playing tackle for 2 years, but he's such a great athlete. Evan Hall, just do good running back. Didn't even mention Daniel Scott, who I really like him. At the very least, you're getting probably one of the best or better special team players in this class. Guys, this was a banger draft. This is like, I don't know if Howie rubbed off on Steichen, but he came into this and was like, yo, Ballard, I know you like trading down. Let's navigate this sucker together. And this is a beautiful draft. One of the best draft classes of the week. But let's go ahead. Let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they ended up having a lot of picks in this draft. I thought Anton Harrison was the right pick. Cam Robinson, he's suspended, I think, for the first 6 games. But regardless, I thought tackle was always going to be need. They lost Jawan Taylor and Walker Little. You've seen encouraging signs from him, but still, I think it's like you could upgrade. I think Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison can be that. He just might be a year away. And I feel good that they at least traded down. But honestly, Anton Harrison could have gone earlier, so they really didn't even need to trade at all if they didn't. But they picked up pick 130 in the process, so I thought that was good. And that was their best. That was their best pick of the draft. Brenton Strange. I like that they moved back and took Brenton Strange, but I had him as a 4th, 5th round prospect. I get it. Like, a lot of people are behind guys like him and Luke Schoonmaker, who we'll get in the NFC, talk about in the NFC video, but I didn't think those guys really or should have gone that high. So I wasn't in love with that, but I was like, you know what? At least they traded down. They grabbed Tank Bigsby. I thought that was fine. I'm a fan of Bigsby. I think he's going to be a good 1-2 punch with Travis Etienne. And then they opened the 4th round with 2 players that I had mid to late day 3 grades on. And to be frank, positions that aren't too valuable because Tyler Lacey, kind of a tweener, so he's probably more interior than he's on the outside. And Miller, I mean, Miller's fine. He was probably, if you were going to look at this day 3 linebacker class, it was like, there's a lot of guys that, oh, you know what, I want to take a shot on him. And you look at Ventrell Miller and he's like, yeah, this guy's kind of been a veteran for Florida, and he's just solid. He may not be someone who's like amazing, like might never be like this all pro guy, but like he's solid cat. I like to pick up a Yazir Abdullah. I'm actually a big fan of him, but I had him going to the 5th anyway. Antonio Johnson and Parker Washington were 2 guys that were kind of slipping, so they actually get their slot player, which slot corners or slot players in general just slid down the board. But like straight up, man, after that it was like Braswell, I wasn't too high on him. Eric Hallett, legit didn't even look at him. There was probably like 4 players that got drafted that I didn't know who they were, so typically I'll like put them into my spreadsheet and then kind of like look up a little bit on the player. And to be honest, like he looks like he could be actually a very productive slot player. He played a lot in the slot, right? He had over 550 snaps in the slot, 7 pass breakups, but he did allow 5 touchdowns. But sometimes that's going to happen in the slot. I think you look at that catch rate and it's pretty solid, so I could see why they went after a cat like this. But I mean, just like Anton Harrison, he's just not that strong. And Derek Parrish actually might be my 2nd favorite player that they drafted, the guy that they drafted last, because he is just a good football player. If you want to be like, hey, go out and rush the quarterback this play, or hey, special teams kickoff unit, go get it, or hey, you're going to be playing fullback here, or oh, tight end, you're going to go out for a pass. He can literally do it all. He is a football player. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? This is kind of I thought it was a below average class for the Jags. Like, you look at day 2 and you hit on tight end and running back. It's like, okay. It's like, listen, I know the Jags didn't have a lot of needs, but just go and draft like players that are high on your board. Maybe these guys were high on their board, but you look at the consensus board and they're not nearly that high. So I don't know. I wasn't that impressed with their class. On to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they stay put. They get Felix Anudike-Uzomah. I thought that's solid. He is legitimately a Spags guy, so made sense. And then on day 2, let me scroll down just a little bit. There we go. They move up to pick 55 from 63. Basically, they picked up 194 in the process, but they gave away their 4th and a 7th round pick. So basically, their 4th turned into a 6th, and they pick up an extra 7th. So it was like kind of whatever to get Rashee Rice. And I'm like, what really does he bring to the wide receiver core? Like, what really? Like, a guy that could create after the catch? You got a ton of guys that could do that. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. So I was just like, what really does he bring, you know? Wanya Morris, like DeJuan Jones was on board. I thought that they were going to just scoop him up because I believe they moved up for DeJuan. Yeah, they gave away 217 to move up to get Wanya Morris here, which I'm actually okay with. I'm a big fan of Wanya Morris. I think he can play guard. I think he's got the build to, at least, but I think his natural position is tackle. Great length, great build, really good athlete, just kind of needs a little more fine tuning. So in all honesty, man, I think he can maybe push for early time at right tackle. He can literally play both sides. So I thought that was a quality pick. Chamari Connors, yeah, he's a versatile defensive back. I had like a mid-day 3 grade on him. He was like, I look at him and I was like, yeah, that's more of a special teamer. I was like, yeah, he probably could have done better in the 4th. PJ Thompson's fine, developmental edge. Keandre Coburn gets you a little meat. And Nick Jones out of Ball State, he's a press corner. At the end of the day, I was like, you know what? They went in, they did average. I thought it was an average class for the Kansas City Chiefs. They made a few good picks here and there, filled some spots, got some special teamers. At the end of the day, what more can you really ask for? And then we got the Los Angeles Superchargers. They got my boy Quentin Johnston. Now, wasn't exactly the speed I was thinking, but they at least got a very speedy big guy to pair up with Mike Williams there on the outside. You got Keenan Allen. You got Joshua Palmer, or these sub-packet, or not sub-package, but these are these guys that thrive in the slot. And I had Quentin Johnston as wide receiver 1, so I'm not against it. I really liked it. I gave it an A. And we look at the rest of the class. Tuli Toi Peloto, he's a little versatile, but I mean, a lot of that, like, a lot of his versatility was, well, when we thought he was playing at 295 at USC, and then he comes in weighing at 266. He did shed some weight, suboptimal length, but this guy gets after it. He plays with his hair on fire. And that's why he was high on a lot of people's boards. So I think that's fine. Dion Henley, exceptional value. There is your linebacker of the future there. I said it. Didn't love the Darius Davis pick. I was like, oh, another TCU receiver. He's probably more of a return man, but he gives him speed. But I thought that was too high. And it was funny because Alex from Hail Mary Sports made the joke, is like, watch them grab Max Duggan, since they already grabbed his receivers, which they actually did grab Max Duggan, and it's kind of whatever. But Jordan McFadden's actually really good for their scheme. He profiles as a guard, but he's been playing tackle at Clemson, but he's got suboptimal length, but really good movement skills for the offense. And Scott Matlock, if you were looking for a really good run defender, that's this guy. He actually was pretty decent as a pass rusher. It's just he's not the most polished pass rusher. And in spite of that, he was actually really good there at Boise State. Shined at the NFLPA Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. He shined at the Shrine. So I ended up saying, hey, this is a banger class. This is one of these classes that would be like an A-, B+, be on the verge. So I gave them a banger. It was also very close to, this is an above average class, but I was like, Quentin Johnston, Henley, those are really good picks. Their 5th and 6th round picks I thought were really darn good as well. So I went ahead and just gave them the title of banger. All right, let's keep moving with the Las Vegas Raiders. They got Tyree Wilson. Sounds like everything checked out with the foot, which was good to hear. We got news on day 2 that it was like, yeah, he's been given the okay that he will be able to start camp. So that's good. I kind of had him around this range anyway. Some people were like, oh, he's sliding. And I was like, no, you know, this is about where I would take him. So they grabbed him, and then I was like, man, I really hope they address corner. They don't really. They grab one corner in this class. They probably have one of the weakest cornerback groups in the AFC, at least. Instead, they move up. They get Michael Mayer, who he is prototypical tight end for the Raiders. He really is. So I thought that was a really good fit. That's Josh McDaniels guy. The day 3 picks I didn't like. Byron Young, he's fine. He is your prototypical Alabama interior player. He's going to come in and he is going to be a good rotation guy. He's going to just be good depth. That's who he is. Trey Tucker was a reach. That was a big flop of a pick. This was the pick that you traded Darren Waller for, and you replaced it with a guy that's probably a returner at best. That's where I had him. I mean, they had guys like Tyler Scott on the board, who was part of the same team, but at least he gives you a little bit more size. There were just much better players on the board. I like the Jacorian Bennett pick. He brings a lot of speed. Aiden O'Connell's fine. Like, he is, if anything, he is the quarterback that is like got high end backup potential. Chris Smith was falling, and they snapped him up. That was actually one of my more favorite picks on day 3. I like the Nesta Jade Savada pickup because this guy is a wonderful locker room player here. There you go. Now you see it. Ultimately, I looked at the Raiders draft and I was like, you know what? Started strong, but average draft class. They got some good players here and there, and they whiffed on some picks. And unfortunately, when they whiffed in a big way, in my opinion. So, good class by the Raiders overall. Average is fine. Guys, average is average. Coming in and drafting an average class, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really when you have suboptimal classes, that's when it's the problem. This, not a problem. Not like the Raider drafts of old. Onto the New England Patriots. And their day 1 move was sick. They sat there at 14. It was staring at Christian Gonzalez, and they were like, hey, Steelers, can we get your 4th round? They were like, yeah. They're like, cool, we'll take it. And then they still get Christian Gonzalez. That's wonderful. Great pickup. I love the blend of speed and size. They snagged Keon White. I'm glad that no one really overdrafted Keon White. He's raw, but I get it. He's just stupid powerful, versatile body type. Marte Mapu. It warmed my heart. this was my MVP coming out of the NFLPA Bowl. I thought he looked fantastic at the Senior Bowl, and I thought he was going to drop in a big way because of the torn pectoral. So I dropped him down to about 150 on my board. I think initially he was around 100 because I was pretty high on him. So I dropped him because of the injury, and to be frank, I probably shouldn't have. That's on me. I thought it's a good pick. He's going to be a linebacker for them, so good on y'all. And then their next 2 picks in day 2 or day 3 weren't that good. So they take Jake Andrews, which is whatever. I had a late day 3 grade on him. And then they moved up for a kicker. I get it. Chad Ryland, cold weather kicker. Perfect fit. I just don't think you should draft kickers. They traded up. They gave away pick 184 to move up for a kicker. But then they redeemed themselves by getting 2 of the best, like the better guard prospects in this class, and Anton Mafi and Sidney Sal, who was drafted by the USFL. And I think Sal could honestly play tackle, and if they end up having him play tackle, it wouldn't surprise me. Grabbing Kayshon Boutte was big move. Big balls move. They were in there at the 6th round, and they were like, you know what? Let's take a swing on him. Then they grabbed a punter. That is what it is. And then the remainder of their picks were kind of whatever. They got Demario Douglas, speedy, undersized receiver, can create after the catch. Probably a return guy. Mere speed. Sick name. Isaiah Bolden. Like these two guys they're bigger. They were bigger corners, so they definitely wanted to add size at corner. Ultimately, they made some really good moves, especially with Christian Gonzalez. But then there was like Jake Andrews and Chad Ryland, and I was like, okay. Ultimately, I gave them a above average class. I thought they did solid. I think this was better than what we saw last year from the Patriots, which, by the way, still produced like Marcus Jones and Jack Jones. So it's like I'm not even gonna front on Bill Belichick and his drafting philosophy. So ultimately, pretty darn good class. Let's keep her moving with the New York Football Jets. Jets fans probably feel indifferent. Sucks that y'all couldn't get a tackle that Steelers jumped in front of you. Was like, oh, you like Broderick Jones? Take that. And y'all ended up taking Will McDonald. Didn't like that y'all passed on Nolan Smith, but I could get why people like Will McDonald. So I didn't think it was that big of a concern. I thought Joe Tippmann was a good pick. He could probably start immediately. He's really good for the offense there. Carter Warren, they actually moved down from pick 112, pick up pick 184, which ends up being Zari Barnes, which he was a guy that I liked from, was it the NFLPA? No, I think it may have been from like the Tropical or the Hula Bowl. But I thought Barnes was actually a pretty all right pick. Carter, he's fine. That's a fine pick. A little higher than I expected, but some of the tackles, I don't know. This tackle class was weird. Where I thought there were like some tackles, their stock would inflate. It did in some cases, but Warren was a fine pick. They got a Banakanda. They get a home run threat. I loved the Zach Kuntz move in the 7th round. Apparently, no one really cared to bet on the walk-in 99 percentile that was Zach Kuntz. So I really enjoyed that. Overall, it was like, I thought this was a fairly average class. Like, again, I wasn't in love with them passing on Nolan Smith. This felt a little early for Will McDonald, but it is what it is. The Tippmann and Carter Warren pickups I thought are good. Even if it was a little bit high for Warren, it kind of Benacanda's kind of whatever. It's fine. Barnes is fine. Like, it ended up just being, I would say, an average class for the Jets. And then on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I mean, you just get the A's ready. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead. It's a banger class. Let's talk about it. Moving up for Broderick Jones, all they had to do was what? Give away pick 120. That's fine. You get your tackle of the future. Joey Porter falls into your hands with the first pick of the 2nd round. Great. Keanu Benton's a great addition. Some people have comped him to Cameron Hayward, so that's great. Darnell Washington fallen because they were apparently injury red flag. He was flagged apparently at the combine because of a knee issue, and that's why he fell. Why he fell like big time. And the Steelers were like, okay, so and it was wild because they actually moved down. They moved down from 80, picked up 93 and 132, and ended up getting Darnell Washington. With pick 132, they pick up Nick Herbig, which he was one of the best available guys on my list. And I had the Steelers as a potential landing spot. Corey Trice, don't know why he fell. I don't know. I know that he was someone that that for the large part, a lot of people were slow to get into his tape. And you had a guy like Brett Coleman, who was a huge fan of him, saw him as his day 2 pick. He ends up going to the 7th. Spencer Anderson's kind of whatever. every pick outside of Anderson. Anderson, kind of whatever, was a banger pick. The Steelers, one of the best draft classes. One of the best. All right, and we're going to finish this video off with the Tennessee Titans, who, par for the course, they took Peter Skoronski. Like, ooh-wee, they took Skoronski. They love to run the football. Skoronski's good. He's going to, what? He's either going to be left tackle, right tackle. That's fine. That's A-okay. That's just Titans being the Titans. And then Will Levis just started falling. Apparently, the Titans wanted to move in back into the first to get him. They were unable to, but they moved up to 33 to pick him up. And yeah, it cost them a little bit, but it's not terrible value. They basically they swapped their second and third round picks with, this was the Cardinals, I believe. Yes, the Cardinals. Cardinals got extraordinary draft value for 2024 throughout this class. But then they gave away a third in 2024, which is fine. You're taking a shot on potentially your franchise quarterback. And then at pick 81, they took Tajay Spears. I think he's a very good complement to Derrick Henry. He is just explosive, lightning in a bottle. I liked the pick there. In the fifth, they grabbed Josh Wiley. I think he's a very good tight end too. It'll be interesting to see how much they trust him as an inline blocker. Sixth round, Jalen Duncan just straight fell. Like, I wasn't high on him, and even then I was like, dang, 186 is actually really, like, I didn't expect him to fall that far. But this is good. This is a good spot for Duncan because I think he is a bit of a project in terms of his pass protector. But he could end up being a future tackle for the Titans. So that was solid. Colton Dow. I looked at this cat up. Wide receiver from Tennessee Martin. And he was very productive for Tennessee Martin. And a big reason I think he may have got drafted, not just because Tennessee is like, they're in the same state, so they happen to come across. They were able to, like, this guy's in our backyard, let's take a look. But he actually, his only not Power 5, but his only games against FBS talent or FBS competition was Boise State and Tennessee, and he might have been his two best games of the season too. His testing's out the wazoo. He was 6'3", 215, tested out really well. You go check out his RAS or his relative athletic score. He graded really high, so I could see taking a shot on him in the 7th, because at first I was like, I have no idea who that is. I looked him up a little bit, only saw a few plays from him, but mainly I looked up, okay, let's see what the analytics, let's see what his testing was, his measurements, watched a little bit of what I could find, and I was like, okay, I wouldn't, yeah, take that shot. I don't know, this is a long-about way of saying Titans, I thought, had a banger class. They got probably the best offensive lineman in this class, and Peter Skoronski. They got one of the most explosive corners, running backs in this class. Did they even mention? Do they list? I don't see Christian Gonzalez on here. Did they get Christian Gonzalez? Did he go to the Titans? Let me confirm this. I thought Chris Gonzalez, or I said Gonzalez. Chris Rodriguez. Wasn't he drafted by the Titans? No, he went to the Commanders. My bad. Did he really? Yeah, he did. Oh, I goofed that. My bad. Well, I'm glad I didn't necessarily say that out loud. Huh. But even still, without that, I was about to say, why would they draft two running backs? It was a banner class. Like, you got your potential franchise quarterback, and yeah, you don't get the 5th-year option, but it's fine. You didn't have to give up a lot. He kind of just fell into your lap. Yeah, you essentially gave up a 3rd next year, but that's kind of a low cost if things work out with him. And you were able to also get Peter Skoronski. This was a really good class for the Titans. But this is what I mean, man. I knew this video was going to be freaking long. because I really want to like get out all my thoughts on these draft classes. So tune in for the NFC. That's coming later today. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.